this design team project for the Digital Collage Club, I'm excited to share another tab binding junk journal tutorial with you. Join me in my collaboration with the Digital Collage Club and let me guide you through the process of creating a stunning junk journal using the tab binding technique. This tutorial will provide you with step-by-step instructions and techniques to help you create your own tab-bound junk journal. Get ready to embark on a creative journey. Let's dive in together. Welcome, it's Barbara from Vienna, Austria. So about 3 years ago, I made this little fun journal using that same tab binding method. I will link this video for you below this video. This was very much inspired by Suzy from Shabby Soul, and I will link Suzy's channel down below for you as well because she just creates the most beautiful projects. So as I was flipping through this recently on my junk journal shelf tour, I decided I want to make an updated version of a journal using this fun hinged tab binding. And since this is a design team project for the Digital Collage Club, let me introduce you to the downloads I've selected for this fun endeavor. For those of you who may be new here, the Digital Collage Club is an exclusive membership-based website offering a vast collection of royalty-free digital craft supplies. When you sign up for either a yearly or lifetime membership, you gain instant access to a treasure trove of unique images and resources. Every week, new images are added, providing you with fresh inspiration. The best part is you can even sell the craft items you create using these images. Now let's talk about the membership options available. You can choose between a 1-year membership or a lifetime membership. With the lifetime option, you pay once and gain unlimited access to all the images and tutorials for a lifetime. In the video description box, you'll find discount codes for both membership types. I want to mention that if you use these links and codes, I receive a commission which greatly supports my small creative business as well. Thank you so much if you decide to sign up or have already joined in the past using my link. And just a reminder, to receive the discounts, be sure to use the provided links below. Thank you for considering the Digital Collage Club and supporting my creative journey. And one more thing I would like to mention is, because I received a question about this recently, and maybe some of you are wondering about this as well, even if you're not a member, you are welcome to just browse the website if you want to see what Tina offers on it, because you can look at everything even without being a member. So check out the link, see if that's something that might be interesting for you. And in all honesty, it is the best deal I've seen on the internet concerning junk journal digitals. So let me share what I am starting out with. These are butterflies from the Digital Sepia Butterflies Clip Art Collection 1. I printed this page out on overhead transparency. I bought these locally, but you can definitely find something like this on Amazon. These are for inkjet and they have always one side that you can print on. If you buy overhead transparencies like this, please pay attention to which side you are able to print, because only one of the sides is usually printable. And all I did was to put a transparency in my printer drawer. And since I have drawers for my Epson printer, by the way, I have the Epson model ET5850. I will also link that for you below. It is an EcoTank printer. I have a big version with 2 drawers because I didn't want to always have to deal with changing the paper when I use different kinds of paper, but there are definitely smaller EcoTank versions available. So in my printer, I have to put these with the side to be printed on face down, but please check what your printer needs. One more thing to mention, if you print on overhead transparencies, the drying time is a lot longer than on regular paper because, of course, the transparency is not very absorbent. In the instructions that come with this, it says it takes 15 minutes, and I would say it takes at least 15 minutes, if not a bit longer. These butterflies are a lot bigger in the original printable, and I scaled these down to 15%. When you open this file and print it in the original size, your printer will say, what was it, like 30 something percent is the original size. I don't understand why that is, but I scaled this down to 15%, and look, they are still very big. And then I just cut them out, and now they look like stickers, and I am so in love with them. Next, I printed these here on regular copy paper, and these are the Grunge Butterfly Library cards, and they have some of the same butterflies which are on this printable. So for example, this one here is this butterfly. And I think these are absolutely fabulous, and they go together so well with the rest that I have here, so I had to have these. And then we have these, which are the Vintage People grunge tags. I have printed these on 200 GSM cardstock. These are so cool. Tina, if you're watching, you have outdone yourself. This is totally my style, and I am so in love with these. And as you can see, I have cut them out. I have inked them up with walnut stain. I've added a little bit of sewing with my sewing machine on each of them. And as you can also see, I have added some gold splatters on all of them, just to give them a little bit more character. For my tabs, for the binding, I'm going to use this Tim Holtz fabric instead of the fabric tape that I used on this one. So fabric tape is a great option because usually fabric tapes are super strong. So in this case, I'm going to have an extra step of gluing the fabric onto my pages. And I'll show you which two fabrics I chose because I thought these colors went best with the rest of the project. And I've actually coffee dyed both of these just by taking some coffee and a paintbrush and dabbing some coffee onto it, and then also just spraying it with some water afterwards. So this top one is a piece of this beautiful fabric, which is called a London Gridlock. Absolutely gorgeous. And I took a strip of this lighter part down here. Absolutely adore this fabric. And then this strip down here, no, it's the other way around, sorry. This is the Gridlock one, sorry. And this one here is from this aviary one, which is also absolutely stunning. Love, love, love this one as well. I get my fabrics from a German online store called Quilting for You. I will link that one for you down below. She has lots of great Tim Holtz fabrics as well as other brands, so check that out if you are in Europe. And lastly, I have these. So I spent some time playing around last night. As you can see, I had a lot of fun. And you might recognize the technique, although it looks very grungy in these examples. So this is my bubble technique. I have a whole video on how I use this technique, which you can also find linked below. But I do want to show you one example of how I made these. In that bubble video, you can see lots of different examples, different colors, different substrates, what to do, what not to do, how to put your mixture together. There's a lot of inspiration in that video. So I'll use this card here as my substrate. The effect is going to look different on each substrate. So depending on how absorbent your substrate is, you will see the bubbles more or less. It will be grungy or less grungy. So you have to experiment with this technique. And I had this glass jar with a mixture of black acrylic paint and water. I used this to make my splatters, and I just added a little bit of dishwashing detergent in it. So just one squirt. Then you just take a straw. In my case, I have a glass straw, but you can take any straw you have. And you mix it. And then you just blow into it until the bubbles come up. And when you have it like this, to the point where they're coming above your container, you can also use a little bowl. All you do is you dip your substrate into it, and if like now you don't really see anything, it's because you haven't mixed it well enough. So that usually happens at the beginning, so I'm just going to mix it up a little bit more. And you can kind of see when the bubbles have a little bit more pigment in them. Let's blow in this again. Yeah, and I can see now that there is more black there. So now we have this. And I just keep dipping it into my mixture until I'm happy with what I see on my substrate. So that looks good for me for the one side. I'm going to dry this. And by the way, it took me years to finally submit to getting the Ranger heat tool instead of the heat gun that I always had, because I finally understood that they are very different. This is not sponsored. I bought this with my own money. And for a long time, I denied this need because I did not want to have two heat tools. But the difference is amazing, especially if you want to dry splatters or paint or ink or something like that. If you use your regular heat gun that you would use for embossing, something that looks like this, it blows the air out so strong. It will blow your paint or ink all over your page when you dry it. But this one has like a softer heat flow and it will not do that. So finally I decided, okay, I need this. So I just got this yesterday and I've been using it and I'm in love. I'm really in love. Okay, so I'll quickly dry this. But it does also get super hot, even though the stream of air is not as strong. So please do be careful when you use these tools. Okay, so this is the one side, and I'll do the same thing for the other side. So that's the other side. I think this already looks super fun. And now to warm it up a little bit, I'm going to add some coffee. So I'm going to change this out and bring in my coffee mixture. So this mixture is the same that I would use for dyeing my papers with coffee. I cannot give you proportions. I just mix it. It's different every time. But what I also did, because I wanted to see the difference, I added a bit of the walnut stain oxide spray. I just opened my spray bottle and just poured a little bit inside to make the pigment a little bit stronger. And of course, I added a dash of my dishwashing liquid. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'll stir it up, then blow into the liquid, and then we'll hold our card into it. And again, you see for the first time now, it doesn't have a very strong color, so I'll keep mixing it. And you can see it's becoming more brown now on top already. Yeah, this is better. So let's do the other side. Okay, I'm going to dry that. I love how it just warms the whole thing up. Oh, and by the way, I would suggest to do this on either a cloth or at least a kitchen towel, because the bubbles will kind of spill over with time and it does get a little bit messy. Okay, let's do this side. You see how this has warmed up this side already, and this one now is very cold. So let's warm that up a bit as well. Whew, that's a lot of bubbles. And if you let this air dry a little bit longer than I am now, I believe the stains will be a little bit darker. But who has time for that when you're making a video? Okay, so there's another card all ready to go. And you can just store these liquids once you have them and keep using them. I have had mine in jars for, I don't know, when did I make that first video? It's at least 3/4 of a year, and they are totally fine. I have them next to me. They're not in my fridge. So I've had no problems with mold or anything like that. Although I do keep my coffee mixture in the fridge. I chose these pieces for my base because I've had these for a really long time and never used them. So go through your stash, see what you have. If you want to use tabs like this, you can obviously just make them yourself by cutting pieces of cardstock and cutting out a tab on the top like this. If you have one of those envelope punch boards, you can use that to make your tab. Otherwise, you can just hand cut it. If you have a tab somewhere, like a file folder or something, you could just trace it and then cut it out. There's lots of options. And I also just wanted to show you on this one here, this is a more porous surface, especially here on the back, and you see the bubbles look totally different here. Love the way they came out on this one. But you never know until you try it, and the more smooth your surface is, the more abstract your bubbles are going to look. But in either case, I just love this grungy look a lot. I'm definitely not going to be using all of these, and I'll also be cutting some of these down because I just want a cute little booklet. And I'm going to take this one as my first page. And the great thing with this tab binding is you work with single pages. You don't have to have a signature. You're not going to sew anything in. So you are very, very flexible with putting together your project. So I'll take my little paper trimmer and trim these down. I want to have lots of pages with different sizes. I'm not going to measure. I'll just see what kind of comes up. I want this one, I think, to be my very first one. I might even turn it around. I don't know yet. Then we could put one of these tags maybe in between. That. Then I want a card. Maybe this is a bit wide. I'll cut this down a little bit. Then I'll cut down this one. This is a really thick one. I'll mix this one in between here. Let's add another tag. 7. Another one of these. 8. Then I'll take one of these. Cut that down a little bit. And I'll add one more tag. Okay, so that's 10 pages in total, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. You could, of course, add as many pages as you like. Actually, I am going to add an 11th page using 2 of my tags. So I chose 2 that have the same shape because we have 3 different shapes of these. So there's this shape, there's this shape, and there is this shape. So I'm going to glue 2 of these back to back, whoops, to become another page. Just using my art glitter glue for this. I don't like these holes being so naked, and they are too far on the top for me to add one of these reinforcement rings like these tags have. So I wanted to see if I could distress it, but I never know how to distress this shape because the regular finger daubers are way too big. So I thought, let's try it with a Q-tip. Never tried this before. I wanted to try this with you on camera. So I'm using my walnut stain distress oxide, and hopefully that will do the trick. Yep, and it works. So there we go. I love it. So you see the difference? I am very happy with that. Of course, you could also add an eyelet, but if you don't want to do that, then this is a great option. So let's find a spot for this in between here somewhere. maybe here. So you can either decorate all your pages first and then bind them, or bind them in the beginning and then decorate them. I'm going to bind them now so that I can show you the technique. Again, this is from Shabby Soul. I did not come up with this. So I've cut these 2 fabric strips to be approximately the same size, and I want my binding to have 5 tabs. So I'm going to cut each tab 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches. I didn't count how many I will need. I'll see how many I can get out of these. I might have to reduce my page number actually. So I've cut all my pieces. This was the one fabric, this is the other fabric. On top here I always have 3 pieces, and on the bottom here I have 2 pieces. So one page is always going to get 3 tabs, and then the next page is going to get 2 tabs, and then the next page 3 tabs again, etc. These fabrics are so similar that I don't think it will be noticeable at all that they're 2 different fabrics. So that's that. It doesn't matter. Obviously you can just use one fabric. I have a mixture here of my textile glue, and I added a little bit of water to it to thin it down just a little bit. You could also use PVA glue for this. So let's start with our first page. So I'll add 3 tabs. I'll just add some baking paper underneath. So I'll put some fabric glue on my fabric, and then I'll add it to my first tab, to my first page, sorry. This is way too far down. To add it up here. I should measure this. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, yeah, and then I still have room to put the other 2 in between. Okay, that should work. So let's add the second one. And then we'll add the third one in the middle. I really think if I was not making a tutorial, I would do this after they are decorated. I believe that would be a bit easier. Okay, so that's my first one. Now on my second page, I'm going to add 2 tabs that will go in the middle. So I need to make sure my placement is going to work. So let's add some glue here. So then I put this one here in between. And this one in between there. Then I'm going to flip this page over, line these up here, and then I'm going to glue the first 3 tabs here over my second page. I think I made my tabs a bit long. This time I'll just put the glue on my tag because I think it's easier. Then I just flip these over. So we have our first 2 pages connected. So now our next page is again going to get 3 tabs. And again, I'll make sure that they are in the same place. Maybe I'll just add it here, that's easier. Now I flip this onto the others, and I'm going to glue over these 2 from the previous page. Make sure it's lined up here on the edge. Add my glue here. Pull this over. And you want to make sure this is nice and flush because you don't want your pages wobbling all over the place. And like this. So now we have 3 pages connected. And we continue with our next page and add the 2 tabs in between. And we do this until we get to the last page. And I'm going to take this one out again actually because I will add that as a flip later. So when you come to your last page, you're not going to add any tabs. We're simply going to glue these tabs from this previous page onto this one here. And it doesn't matter if you have an even number of pages or an odd number of pages. It's all good. So there's the spine. And the great thing about this binding is that your pages lay absolutely flat. So in no time we have a little booklet which is now ready for decorating. I will be doing most of the decorating off camera because it's just going to take way too long. And I am going to add also some more Tim Holtz ephemera. For example, I will take some of these from the ephemera pack snippets. And probably also some of these here, which is from the Urban Layers, I think they're called. They're a lot bigger, but I think I can use some of these. I've had all of these for such a long time. I think this is the perfect project to use these in. I do want to show you what I want to do for the cover. So these two that we have glued together, I want to have as a cover image right here. And I want to have this as a flip out. So I'm going to use this piece of scrap here from my fabric. I'll cut this in two and make two tiny tabs to go here. And then I will glue these here onto the other side of this page. There, so that's a nice little flap now. And I want to add one of these butterflies. For example, this one I think is great because it's very see-through and I don't want to cover up too much of her. So I could just add this, for example, like this. And since this one doesn't have any antennae, I want to add some black thread to symbolize those. So I'm just bunching this up and I will glue that underneath the butterfly. And also I'll add some glue where the body is of the butterfly to stick that down. If I would have thought of this before, I would have probably sewn the butterfly through, but I can't now because it's already glued to this tag. Story of my life. Okay, that glue will obviously become transparent once it has dried. So I'll see you maybe somewhere in between if I have anything interesting to show. Otherwise, you'll see a flip through at the end. What I'm starting off with is taking some of these ephemera pieces and I am grunging them up a little bit by just going around the edges with my distress tool using walnut stain and then also going over it with my makeup brush using the same walnut stain just to make it all fit in with the vintage look I'm going for. And I'm going to just add some of these ephemera pieces to the pages randomly and then start building those up. So I don't have the complete layout in my head of how these pages are going to look. That's going to develop slowly as I'm building the pages. Use book pages, use music sheet, use tissue paper, whatever you have. It doesn't have to be ephemera like this that you bought. Just look through your things. It's about 45 minutes in and I just wanted to show you what I do with these kind of pieces that of course look way too new and shiny. So I have this block here from the hardware store with some sanding paper. You can also use a nail file and I just go over the whole piece, concentrating especially on the edges. So I rough it up, especially here so that I can get some Distress Oxide on the sides And of course, it's going to be all scratched up. Whoops. Then let's add some walnut stain distress oxide. Alternatively, if you have like some grit paste or something like that, you could add that on top as well instead of the sanding, but I don't have that. And I'm really happy with this grungy look. So I'm going to glue this here. Or actually, now I'm thinking maybe it would be better here because there's a bigger contrast. Yeah, actually it doesn't matter. No, I'll put it here as planned. And I'm going to just glue on the bottom part here so that it is a tuck spot. And I want to add, I think, this tag. So I want to make sure it's in the right spot so that the tag is well positioned. For example, like that. So I'll just put glue up to here. And then glue that here. And then we can stick this in here. So let me show you maybe where I am at this point. So this is already stuck down. The glue has almost cleared up completely. I haven't put anything underneath yet, but I do still have this clamped down because on this side, let me just take it off shortly. In this pack, I also had this thing saying do not crush, which is currently a bit hard to see because of the white glue. And I added one of my butterflies on top because I think that just fits together really well. And this is also a belly band. Then I made this tag into a tuck spot. This one we've just done together. Then this one has another one of those double-sided tags as a flip like I showed you before. This one has a tuck spot. We have another flip, do we? No, sorry. We have, I already forgot what I did. We have a tuck spot here, and this is again from the Urban Layers, using the same technique. We have one of these library cards as a flip out. We have one of the smaller tags onto which I added one of these butterflies, and you can just turn this, and then there's one of the Urban Layers and a piece of one of those library cards. Then here's a flip up. Here's another tag that you can turn. The 3 here is a tuck spot with one of the library cards. And on the back, I did the same thing as in the front. I added one of these flip tags, and I also added a butterfly like I did on the front. And this is just a little paper that I sewed onto first and then glued on. So that's where I am now. It is starting to take shape, and I'm having the best time with this little grungy journal. So it's a few hours later and she's done. I am so happy with her. So this is what the spine looks now. It has expanded a little bit, of course. That's the front. That's from the other side. And this is the back. So let me open her up and share what I created. So I just tied it with one of these packaging twines because she does open a bit like a gator mouth. Not too bad, but just a little bit. So in the front here, I added this cute dangle that I received from my dear friend Sonja. Danke nochmal, liebe Sonja. How cute is this handbag? It's so adorable. And I think it fits so well with the theme here with ladies. And then we have a little pearl here. So you've seen this part. Then we open it up. Then I added this butterfly here, printed out on my overhead transparency, and I attached it just on the tips here so that it becomes a belly band. And this is just a piece of paper for some journaling. That closes. Then we have this other belly band. You've already seen that. It says do not crush and the butterfly on top. and another little fold out for some writing space. By the way, if you're interested in seeing how I dyed this paper, I have a whole playlist on different variations of paper dyeing. You can find that video there. This is a tuck spot into which I added this mini journal. So it's from this Snippets ephemera pack. And this flips up. And then it's just a couple of empty journal pages, which I just sewed with my sewing machine in the middle. Such a cute little journal. This one we did together, so we have our tag in the 5. This one flips out and has another one of these transparent butterflies on the top and a little paper pad. Again, some ephemera here from the Snippets ephemera pack. I also didn't want to cover up all of these beautiful grungy backgrounds, so I left a lot of those exposed. We have another flip out here. Oh, maybe I should mention, so you see here there's a double flip out. So first attach this tag just with 2 strips, which are down here. And then afterwards I decided to add this as well, so I just glued these 2 fabric strips over these 2. So these are actually double, but these are single on this side. I hope that makes sense. So we have this flip out here, and then there's a little paper here, and you can still see the background underneath. Here we have a little tuck spot for a paper scrap made out of half of these transparent butterflies. This is one of the quote chips that I just made thinner. So for example, this is one of the quote chips and they are super thick. And you can just take like a Stanley knife and take off this top layer. Actually, you can do it as thin as you want. See, they come apart pretty easily. And I made a belly band out of that, and that also has like a little flip out thing for writing space. I added this tag afterwards, so this was not a journal page. I again just added 2 fabric tabs here and then just glued them onto here. And I really like how we have the girl here with the wings, and here it says use your wings. This is again, I'm not sure, this is either from the Tim Holtz Urban Pieces or from the Snippets. I am not sure now. Again, just a little paper. I dyed the back of this tag with the bubble technique that I just showed you before. We have a tuck spot here. I think you've seen that before. And again, I just added one of these library card pieces. Here is one of those snippet pieces. And I found this piece, which I almost threw away. Oh my goodness, who am I? And then I just glued it there, and I think it looks really nice. And I did not want to cover the rest of this. Oops, this goes inside. We have a tag as a tuck spot, again, just with a little paper inside and one of the pieces from the Urban layers. We have another one of those library cards glued onto another library card. This is from the Urban layers, and again, just some dyed paper. This one is dyed with rust, and that is not in my list. I don't really have a video on the rust dyeing, unfortunately. What you need is rusty objects and a spray bottle with vinegar and water, and then you just keep spraying it, letting it dry, spraying it until you have your desired effect. Another tag as a tuck spot, again, one of the library cards. So this you've seen before. And this now has one of the library cards inside. Then I grunged up another one of these numbers from the Urban layers, and I added this tag in there with one of these tiny clips. This is my last one. I only had a few. I am really stingy with these. But I thought, okay, this is the right project for it. And I wanted to attach that on top because I somehow have the feeling, you know, it's just loose there. So I just wanted to make sure that stays there. And I just love these little clips. Oh my goodness. Then we have another flip out tag here with another butterfly, which could be used as a tuck spot. Again, I used my bubble technique here. Then this perishable label is from the Urban Layers, and I added some of my rust paper here as well. Love how grungy that came out. We have 2 more library cards added as a flip up. And here we have another piece of the Urban Layers, one of the butterflies with some thread and just a little scrap piece of paper in there. Another butterfly attached on the wings as a tuck spot. Again, some rust-dyed paper inside. Another one of these tags with the 3 as a tuck spot, one of the library cards. And finally on the back, I also added one of the flip out tags and one of the library cards as a flip up, and I also added this butterfly. Thank you so much for joining me for this fun design team project. I hope this tutorial has inspired you to explore your creativity and create your own masterpiece. Stay tuned for more creative projects. Happy journaling and happy creating. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.